Hello, denizens of the internet. Former network executive reaction to The Witcher, Blood Origin, Episode 1. First of all, I have to warn you there will be spoilers, and double warning that I thought the show was actually okay. Knives out in the comments below. Once again, I will be looking at Episode 1 through the eyes of a former network executive. I will tell you what I would have told the producers of the show, what I would have changed, and I'll point out what mechanical aspects they got right. Because while I could argue artistic merit, that is not what always wins the day when it comes to a show succeeding. I will repeat this a million times. No one knows anything in Hollywood. Why was Alf successful? Who knows? This is always the premise I work from. It's not a question of giving a show the benefit of the doubt. We just don't always know what makes a show succeed. But I do know how a show works, and those elements include a charismatic cast, unique character wants, personal secrets, interesting environment, a ripping yarn, placement of loaded guns, and shorter arcs that conclude in the same episode. I am also somewhat lenient with pilot episodes because they have to do so much heavy lifting. We don't know the characters, the actors, the story, and it has to make you want to keep watching. Pilots are often the worst episode. The people who have already spoken and hate this show have good reason to hate it. Blood Origin was billed as a Witcher show. It is not. It's not even derived from the source material. Inspired, maybe, but it's The Witcher in the same way Edge of History is National Treasure. Neither of these two shows even remotely resemble the brands they claim they originated from. And in both cases, their YouTube trailers got royally ratioed. Perhaps the lesson here is if your show is nothing like the original brand, then create a new one. Though our interest in both of these shows is coming from that association. As a network exec, I would have honestly gone for the brand tie-in, but perhaps those days have passed. Heck, The Witcher itself with Cavill was barely The Witcher. While Season 1 was an okay start, Season 2, after Episode 1, was unwatchable. Ironically, Blood Origin commits the same sin as Edge of History. Edge trotted out Harvey Keitel's character from the National Treasure movies and then killed him off. And Blood Origin drags that inexorable minstrel Dandelion to make the Witcher connection. Why him? I have no idea. Not only was this entire sequence terrible, it was incomprehensible and totally unnecessary. It's bad enough that Minnie Driver, or the character she's playing, narrates throughout the show. I would have nixed that. I hope Dandelion never comes back. I know what you're thinking. Wait, wasn't this video billed as liking the show? Yeah, but I'm not through the hating parts yet. The entire intro of Ellie, I think it's pronounced Ellie, as the badass lark, braving the barren landscape, arriving in a tiny village, scowling like Clint Eastwood from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, just didn't cut it. It was, you know what, honestly, a massive groan. Cavill, of course, could have pulled it off. I'm sorry to say this, but most women could not. Grace Jones could, Gina Carano could, but she's persona non grata in Hollywood. I would have cut all this and started with the sequence in the tavern with Lark singing. That way, we are surprised with her heroic feats of knife flinging. Of course, we have the big, mean guy hitting on tiny tavern girl sequence. Tropes are tropes. There is the loaded gun, where it's revealed that the girl has visions. And as you'll see, the writer is good at placing loaded guns and then firing them off later on. If you must know, this metaphor comes from playwright Anton Chekhov. He wasn't on the Starship Enterprise. One must never place a loaded gun on the stage if it isn't going to go off. I love that rule. My biggest concern is whether Sophia Brown can carry this show as Lark on her tiny shoulders. And based on the pilot, no. She's far more engaging than Morfydd Clark from Rings of Power, however. But Brown isn't the lead. Then we move to the unpronounceable city, where fighting happens, and we're introduced to Mirren Mac, well cast as the Empress Merwin, and Lawrence O'Furian as Fial. Apologies ahead of time for all the mispronunciations. Fial. Luckily for Blood Origin, Lawrence is a magnificent hunk and is reason alone to watch the show. We see a shaky Merwin with a bloodied knife, another well-placed loaded gun. Then we get a glimpse into the unrequited relationship Fial and Merwin have, which they suddenly decide to get requiting. Unfortunately, we get some humping interruptus. There are consequences, and Fial is banned from the city and his clan. This script is good at providing consequences for actions. I won't be going through the entire plot. I just want to get through some of the key introductions, such as this unsatisfying expositional intro to Michelle Yeoh's character, but no big whoop. Lenny Henry gets killed off in Rings of Power and shows up here as the evil chief wizard. He's okay. Not great. Beautiful vistas. That was the star of the show. Lark and Fial meet in a lockup. Of course, there is a fight. Of course, the 5-foot, 830-pound Lark goes toe-to-toe with the 6-foot, 190-pound well-muscled Fial. But we are living in a new age, as we know. As in most incidents in this show, there is always a motivation. In this case, it was a distraction for Lark to steal Fial's pendant, which she uses to escape from her cell later on. I'm sorry, but that's good writing. There is the setup for the betrayal. We get the scene where Lark hugs the bar girl who suddenly goes into Wednesday Addams-like contortions, providing Lark with a vision. I'm fairly sure the producers of Blood Origin, when they saw Wednesday's freakout sequence, they went, oh, poop. I'm highlighting this because the gun was loaded for this moment earlier on, and here we have it firing off. I like this. Two of our main characters are forced to battle together to defeat assassins, and an uneasy truce between them takes place. All standard stuff. Back at the palace, the king announces that long-standing enmity between the kingdoms will end. Oops, Lenny is leaving. This is not good. Now the princess or Empress is taking a hike. I don't like this. Door is being closed and locked. I'm suspecting something now. Princess slashes the throat of her sister. Not very nice. But a conclusion to the loaded gun earlier on. Okay, some giant creature flies down and kills everyone. I don't want to show that. Merwin believes she is now in control of all the kingdoms, but it's clear she is not, and she was duped, and she realizes she's now trapped in the palace. I have to say here, the costume and Mirren Mac are stunning. I like this turn of events because it's fast and not belabored. Again, consequences for actions. The intrepid two meet up with Michelle Yeoh's character Cyan, and of course, there is the "you are not ready to fight" sequence. And finally, they become the intrepid three. The show is serviceable. Lawrence, Michelle, and Mac have more charisma than the entire cast of Rings of Power. Lenny Henry is terrible as the antagonist. The bad guy in a show has to do some scene chewing, and Henry is clearly not up to the task. Think of Oliver Reed playing the evil mage, and you get the idea of what this character needed. So, there you go. As a network exec, if the audience falls in love with O'Furian and he carries the show, then I'm happy. I don't need people to love the whole damn thing. They just need to watch it. Yeah, it has that woke stench, but I've smelled worse. The Witcher books have much more substance and lore. Blood Origin is more paint by numbers. They should never have associated it with The Witcher, and maybe they would have had a nice, above-average CW experience. Will I willingly watch the next episode? Yes, for all the reasons I mentioned earlier. Till next time, denizens, be seeing you.